They should not forget the good things that happened and took place under the leadership of the previous Labour governments. They should also consider that whilst at this time the spotlight is not on them, Madam Speaker, and so affords them the luxury of taking the high moral ground, which one of them, which one of us is without sin? None of us, Madam Speaker. But many stones are presently being cast, and innocent people's lives are being destroyed. Madam Speaker, my time is up. I once again take this opportunity to say to the Honourable Prime Minister, and in all sincerity, and all the elected members of the government, my sincere congratulations to you on your victory in the general elections. I would like to congratulate you once again, Madam Speaker, on your high elevation as a woman. And I know you will discharge your duties without fear or favour and impartial. And I sincerely hope so. Mr. Prime Minister, I have a lot of respect for you. And you know that. I trust, though, that you will discharge your responsibility without fear or fear, without fear or favour, and in service to all the people of this beloved country. I remind you, sir, of your own words to me in a congratulatory letter dated 18th of January 2000, when I was elevated as a full minister, and I quote, "As you have done in the past, make this challenge one to do good and right and be fair always, mindful of the fact that the interest of the country comes first and that you are in the business of serving all the people." End of quote. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Speaker,
I recognize the member for St. Peter.
thank you very much. Madam Speaker, let me say from the onset that I'm very happy today to be in this honourable house, to be part of passing this very important legislation, the Integrity in Public Life Act 2004. I want to commend the government of the day for bringing this legislation to this honourable house. But Madam Speaker, I have to be honest, I do support the legislation. I think it is laudable. I support the Prevention of Corruption Act. But I have certain very serious reservations and concerns and questions that I would like to pose to the Honourable Attorney General for elucidation a little later down. Madam Speaker, on the one hand, in this Act we are saying that there is confidentiality and secrecy to declarations when a person in public life files his or her declaration with the Chairman of the Integrity Commission. On the other hand, we are then taking away that confidentiality from that public servant or person in public life. If we look, Madam Speaker, I think it is Section 14, where the Honourable Prime Minister this morning so well read out to us. But, Madam Speaker, Section 14 is very problematic. Because if we look at the words in Section 14, where it says that the declarations filed with the Commission and the records of the Commission in respect of these declarations are secret and confidential, they shall not be made public. We should put a full stop right after the word public. Why? It goes on to say, except where a particular declaration or record is required to be produced by order of court for the purpose of, or in connection with any court proceedings or inquiry. Madam Speaker, inquiry by whom? It doesn't state. It doesn't state whether it's the DPP, or it's the police, or it's the head of the ONDCP that's making the inquiry. But it needs to state who is making the inquiry, Madam Speaker. This is a very dangerous clause in this legislation. And I'll go on to tell you why. I mean, any inquiry from the DPP or the police commissioner or the head of the ONDCP, what he or she simply has to do is write a letter to the chairman of the Integrity in Public Life Commission and say, listen, I'm investigating John Doe, a civil servant downtown that works at Inland Revenue, for some form of impropriety. And I need to get the records of that person's declaration that was filed with the commission. I am asking for those records, or it goes on to say, or any court proceeding. Madam Speaker, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm sure the learned Attorney General will correct me if I'm wrong. Court proceeding includes not only criminal proceedings, but also civil matters. So if you decide, a lawyer, to sue me, and you go before the court, and you get an order from the court that you would like to subpoena the records of Wilmer Daniel, the Honorable Wilmer Daniel, for some form of impropriety that you're accusing him of, then simply, Madam Speaker, the Commission then has an obligation to give those records, that declaration that you have filed, to the court. It will be a court order. Then there's no more secrecy. It will then be in the public domain. So a person's private and confidential financial affairs will then come into the public domain for all and sundry to see. That cannot be right. I have a serious problem with that, Madam Speaker. As I said, I feel a full stop should be placed after the word public. The declaration should be secret, private and confidential. A person must feel comfortable in filing those declarations. Look, I am protected under the law. I mean, I know that the Honorable Attorney General is waiting with bated breath to see my declaration so he can get his hands on it. The other matter, Madam Speaker, I'm not going to be long, but I do have some concerns. Yeah, but you can't give, Madam Speaker, on one hand, you can't say in the Act that your declarations are confidential, they're secret and private, and then on the other hand, you're taking away that privacy. It's an invasion of privacy. If we then look, Madam Speaker, to Section 20, subsection 3, and the learned Attorney General knows much more than I do. I mean, I'm not even a Bush lawyer. That no statute or no law can override the Constitution of Antigua and Barbuda. And the Constitution is sacrosanct. And you cannot pass legislation, Madam Speaker, and this is the other matter. When we come to this Honorable House, we have an obligation to the citizenry out there to pass legislation that is in the best interest of the majority of the people. Not just for some. And not just to go after certain persons, to persecute those persons. Here it says here in Section 3, a person in public life or without reasonable cause fails to make a declaration required by Section 16 shall by reason of that failure vacate all offices in public life held by him, and the Commission may order that he be disqualified from holding any office in public life. So a commission that we are setting up by a virtue of an Act of Parliament here today can say that the people of Pears and Parham and Fidges Creek and Vernons that sent me to this Honorable House to serve, you can disqualify me and tell me that I must vacate my seat? That is outrageous. It is outrageous. What we are purporting to do here today, Madam Speaker, is to amend the Constitution. And if we look, and if I crave your indulgence, Madam Speaker, and we look carefully in Section 41 of the Constitution, Section 41, and the Attorney General know I'm right in it. You know I'm right. And I don't have no legal opinion today. I don't have no prepared legal opinion, Madam Speaker. This is common sense. Section 41 of the Constitution, it lays out the tenure of seats of members of the House. It gives you all the cases where an honorable member may vacate his seat. If that person ceases to be a citizen, if at the dissolution of Parliament he has been elected, if he is crazy, if he's insane, if he's bankrupt, it lays it all out in Section 41. But why are you all disturbing me? Every time I get up to speak, you all would give me a chance to speak. So, Madam Speaker, I'm saying here, and I know I'm correct, that Section 3, subsection